Hanley shook his head slowly. There's no need. If I've guessed correctly, his cultivation will be profound, on par with the Mulan divine sages. Ordinary cultivators would have no chance against him and would only bring about their own deaths. Besides, he possesses the method to remove the soul seal curse. I don't want to scare him off, Senior Marshal Brother Chung shouted in alarm. On par with a Mulan divine sage, could he be a late nascent soul stage cultivator? Junior Marshal Brother, you definitely cannot face him alone. It would be far too dangerous. We must seek help from Long Han and Feng Bing. Hanley exhaled calmly. Although they could handle him, it would take them at least 4 months to arrive. That would be too late. The black-robed man only allowed 2 months after the assault. He seems to have calculated my return time, but he didn't anticipate how quickly I could travel. This gives me time to carefully plan how to deal with him. Most importantly, I need to find a way to acquire the method to dissolve the soul seal curse. Chung could only nod in agreement. Very well. If Junior Marshal Brother needs anything, don't hesitate to ask. All sect disciples are at your disposal. Hanley forced a small smile. Thank you, Senior Marshal Brother. According to the jade slip Warner left, she can postpone the soul seal curse's activation for nearly 100 years. But this has never been tested, so I cannot help worrying. His eyes glanced at the girl sealed within the wall of ice. Concern etched across his face. After a moment, Chung consoled him. Junior Marshal Brother, there's no need to be anxious. From what I see, she should survive and overcome this trial. In the coming days, I'll search the ancient records to see if any method exists to dissolve the curse. That may save you the trouble of tracking down the black-robed man. Hanley nodded. Thank you, Senior Marshal Brother. If you have no objections, I wish to remain alone here for a while. I hope you won't take offense. Of course. I'll head to the records library now. Please keep your wife company, Chung replied with empathy, leaving Han Li alone in the room. Hanley turned his attention to the ice wall, letting out a long, lonely sigh. An entire day passed and he had not left the room. When Chung returned from the records library, he found Han Li still inside and grew worried. After half a day more, he felt compelled to check on him. Just as he moved to enter, Han Li emerged. Junior Marshal Brother Han, has anything happened? Chung asked, bewildered. Hanley's heart warmed at the sight of the old man. It's nothing. I was only considering plans to deal with the enemy. Sorry for making you worry. There's still a month left before the deadline. I must prepare to enter seclusion. Unless it's important, you needn't concern yourself. You're entering seclusion? What can you accomplish in such a short time? Chung appeared puzzled. Hanley's reply was calm. I've acquired some auric essence during my absence. I plan to further temper my magic treasures. In a month, I can only strengthen them somewhat, but it will be enough. Chung's expression shifted as understanding dawned. I see. Very well, Junior Marshal Brother. I'll ensure none of the disciples disturb you. Hanley added solemnly, there's something more. Since the ice wall is here, I cannot stray far, or its stability may be compromised. I intend to place several more spell formations around it to better protect Warner. I'll need your assistance. Don't worry, Junior Marshal Brother. Fellow Taoist Nangong was attacked within our sect's domain, and I bear responsibility. This area is already classified as forbidden. No disciple will enter. Warner's safety is assured, the silver-haired elder replied instantly. Hanley's eyes brightened. In that case, I am relieved. There's no time to waste. I'll place the spell formations before entering seclusion. Leaving Chung behind, Hanley returned to his cave residence. He was surprised to see Mu Peeling waiting, but welcomed her inside. Once inside, she asked anxiously, Is Big Sister Nanlong all right? I heard she was injured and didn't receive details. I've been worried. Hanley calmly took a seat. Huh? You have a close relationship with Warner? We get along well. Big Sister Nanlong's temperament is kind, and she guided me in cultivation while my lord was away. I owe her much, Mu Peeling replied. Hanley smiled bitterly. You should be happy. But Warner has suffered the soul seal curse and sealed herself, so I cannot truly take comfort in your words. Your cultivation has clearly risen in the past few months. I am pleased. As for me, I must spend the next month in seclusion to prepare to dissolve Warner's curse. Mu Peeling frowned. The soul seal curse? That devil Dao curse is troublesome. Do you have a way to solve it, my lord? A harsh expression crossed Han Li's face. Solve it? I can only defeat the person who placed the curse and obtain the method from their body. Mu Peiling could only frown. At that moment, Liu Yu, a clever disciple who had befriended Nanggong Wan, arrived to ask about her master's wife. Han Li briefly summarized the situation, including the soul seal curse. Liu Yu, though worried, lacked the cultivation to help. With no further intention to linger, Han Li escorted the two women out. They obeyed without protest. As they departed, Liu Yu glanced at Mu Peiling with a sly smile. Fellow Taoist Mu, while you are the master's concubine, you are still treated as a guest. Could it be your beauty doesn't move him? Or is there another reason? With Lady Nanggong's beauty surpassing yours, you had better shape up. Mu Peiling blushed as she realized Liu Yu's meaning. With a final smile, Liu Yu shot into the sky on her magic tool. Han Li checked the medicine garden and insect room, confirming all was in order. He then brought materials into a sealed room and began tempering auric essence into his 36 flying swords. Between the auric essence from Master Sunreach, the Mulan, and another piece from Long Han on behalf of the Heavenly Tao Alliance, he had more than enough to fully temper the swords. Tempering the treasures wasn't complicated, but the time limit made it pressing. Han Li focused, working to form a minor version of the Grand Aureate Sword formation, enough to contend with a late, nascent soul stage cultivator. The person who had cursed Nanggong Wan was likely the yin-sifting sect master. Han Li needed the method to dissolve the curse, and the minor aureate sword formation would be his key. He summoned various sized pieces of auric essence from his storage pouch, placing them on the ground with the supplementary materials nearby. Sitting cross-legged, he gestured to the smallest piece. It floated toward him. Han Li focused, breathing life into his azure nascent flame. With a bang, the flame enveloped the auric essence. He began the incantation, the flame brightening and melting the stone within. After an hour, impurities dripped onto the floor while the auric essence became a translucent liquid. He flung his sleeve, sweeping up a jade box that opened to reveal fine silver powder. The powder merged with the liquid auric essence, roiling the azure flames, then absorbed completely after several spell seals. Suddenly, something remarkable took place. The melted auric essence in front of Han Li began to quiver and split apart into 6 thumb-sized silver beads that floated gently in the air, revolving slowly around one another. Seeing this, Han Li let out a long breath of relief before biting the tip of his tongue. He spat a mist of blood essence toward the 6 beads. The beads absorbed his blood essence entirely, and their silver glow transformed into a pure, radiant gold. Excitement flickered in Han Li's eyes. With a faint hum, he spat out a streak of azure light that circled once around him before stopping midair, revealing itself to be a small inch-long sword that shimmered under an azure mist. Raising his hand, Han Li pointed toward one of the golden beads. The beads slowly floated over and coated the surface of the tiny sword in a perfect, even layer. The flying sword immediately blazed with a bright golden light. Han Li's brows twitched slightly as he then gestured toward the ground, summoning several supplementary materials that rose into the air and fused with the sword. When the fusion was complete, he beckoned again, and the sword flew into his palm, engulfed in his azure nascent flames. Closing his eyes, Han Li focused his mind completely. His spiritual sense controlled the flames, guiding them carefully as they refined and merged the auric essence into the sword's body. The tempering would only be complete once the infused auric essence fully bonded with the blade. Days turned into weeks as Han Li refined each of his 36 bamboo clouds-warm swords. He worked tirelessly, resting neither day nor night. Without the help of the myriad years spirit milk restoring his essence and power, he would have long been drained dry. As the appointed time with the black-robed man drew near, tension spread throughout. The drifting cloud sect, those who knew of Han Li's situation, grew increasingly anxious, especially senior martial brother Cheng. On the day before the deadline, a flying sword carrying a jade slip arrived at the sect. The jade slip contained the exact meeting place for the upcoming confrontation. The location was treacherous and far from the Dream Cloud Mountains. Cheng paced nervously in the main hall, worrying that if Han Li didn't leave soon, he wouldn't reach the place in time. Just then, Han Li appeared silently at the entrance. Cheng's eyes brightened at once. "Junior Marshal Brother, you've finally come. Have you finished refining your treasures? Hanley's presence was calmer and more imposing than before. His voice was low and steady. I've completed the refinement. Senior Marshal Brother, I heard that a new jade slip arrived mentioning the location. Is that true? Chung nodded quickly and handed it over. He's calling for you to meet him at the summit of Heaven Pillar Mountain. This is the jade slip he sent. Hanley scanned it with his spiritual sense and let out a cold snort. His expression darkened. He wants me to come alone and to bring the golden lightning bamboo treasure with me. He's done his homework. He even knows about my connection with Wanner. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to use her against me. Chung's expression turned grim. With his abilities, learning such things wouldn't be difficult. But you can't go alone. I've already contacted Childfire Dragon and 6 other fellow Taoists. Once you head out, we'll follow from behind. As soon as he appears, we'll strike together and make sure he doesn't leave the state of Xi alive. Hanley thought quietly before nodding. That's fine. If he's as arrogant as I expect, it will be his downfall. Senior Marshal Brother, your plan is sound. Then it's settled, Chung said firmly. I'll place a marker on you so we can track your position. If the fight turns dangerous, just hold out until we arrive. Hanley clasped his hands. I appreciate your help. I don't often rely on others, but this time I truly owe you. Chung smiled faintly. There's no need for thanks. You're part of the Drifting Cloud sect. It's our duty to help. You should leave tonight. The journey to Heaven Pillar Mountain will take time. Hanley nodded and turned to depart. Chung watched him go with a long exhale of relief. From Hanley's words, he knew his junior would remember this favor well, perhaps even repay it one day when Chung's life neared its end. After Hanley left, Chung summoned several sound transmission talismans and sent them flying out of the hall in streaks of red light, calling his allies to prepare for departure. 2 hours later, he and the others quietly followed after Hanley. Meanwhile, Hanley flew through the night in a simple streak of azure light to conserve energy. In his hand, he played with one of the newly refined golden swords, 3 inches long and gleaming faintly. The transformation of the swords after absorbing auric essence puzzled him deeply. Originally, he expected their golden hue to fade once refinement was complete. But even after merging, the 36 swords retained their bright golden luster. Still, their power exceeded all expectations. Tests had shown that each sword was 30% stronger than before, sharp enough to cut through nearly any magic treasure made from lesser materials. Hanley suspected that the combination of auric essence with the golden, lightning bamboo, and refined crystals had caused a rare evolution in their nature. Whatever the reason, he wouldn't complain. It only made him stronger. He turned his focus to the aureate sword formation, which he had tested during seclusion. Even the incomplete version of the formation displayed astonishing might, enough to bolster his confidence for the coming battle. Without it, he never would have risked meeting a late nascent soul cultivator. But now, with the aureate formation, his odds were high, perhaps 80%. Still, obtaining the method to dissolve Nangong Wan's soul seal curse would be difficult. Hanley would have to tread carefully and judge his actions when the time came. He dismissed the sword into his sleeve and scanned the surroundings. With his spiritual sense, his allies were nowhere nearby. But he wasn't surprised. They would be keeping a safe distance, so as not to alert the enemy. At last he saw it. Heaven Pillar Mountain loomed ahead, rising tens of kilometers high into the sky. Its steep slopes pierced through the clouds, surrounded by low hills that offered no cover. The isolation made it an ideal place for an ambush. When Hanley was about 50 kilometers away, a strange ripple ran through his spiritual sense. Though his cultivation had reached the mid-nascent soul stage, he became instantly alert. Was this the black-robed man's doing? Feigning calm, Hanley continued flying toward the peak while quietly scanning his surroundings. Far ahead, atop Heaven Pillar Mountain, a black-robed man sat cross-legged, eyes closed. The moment Hanley drew near, the man's eyes slowly opened. A faint, cold smile appeared on his lips as he murmured to himself, "So you've come. It seems my information was correct. Your bond with that woman truly runs deep. Risking your life over a woman? It seems I've overestimated you." The black-robed man murmured coldly to himself, his tone filled with disdain. Turning toward a simple transportation formation beside him, he sensed Hanley drawing nearer, only a few dozen kilometers away. With calm steps, he entered the formation, and in the next instant, a flash of white light swallowed him whole. At that very moment, Han Li's spiritual sense suddenly lost track of his target. His heart tightened. Vanished? A concealment technique? Or is he setting a trap? He thought, instantly growing, more alert as he continued flying toward the mountain peak with extreme caution. When he finally reached the summit of Heaven Pillar Mountain, his expression changed. At the center of the peak stood a transportation formation, faintly glowing. Beside it sat a massive boulder, upon which 3 words were deeply carved, "Do not be late." Han Li's face darkened. The message made the black-robed man's intentions clear. He had no interest in a peaceful meeting or negotiation. This was bait. Han Li quickly assessed the formation and realized it was a simple, short-distance transportation array. However, using it blindly could easily send him into a deadly ambush. Worse still, he had no idea if Senior Marshal Brother Chung and his group would be able to follow. Yet if he hesitated for too long, his opponent might flee, and the chance to obtain the method for lifting Nangong Wan's soul seal curse would vanish with him. Han Li stood still for a long moment, torn between caution and necessity. Finally, his eyes hardened with resolve. He spread his spiritual sense across the area, carefully scanning for any hidden devil cultivators. Detecting none, he pulled out a sound transmission talisman, whispered a short message, and sent it flying away in a streak of crimson light. Next, he unfastened his spirit beast pouch. With a sharp hiss, a dense swarm of gold-devouring beetles emerged, their black-tinged bodies swirling around him like a living storm. Within moments, they formed a tricolored armor that covered him from head to toe. With a flick of his sleeve, a small blue shield floated before him, expanding slightly. Then, in another flash of light, an embroidered scarf appeared in his hand. Han Li's gaze softened. It was the protective treasure Nangong Wan had once gifted him. He ran his fingers over the delicate fabric, his expression unreadable as memories flickered through his mind. After a brief silence, he layered several protective barriers over his body, took a deep breath, and stepped into the formation. Raising his hand, he formed a spell seal and struck the array's corner. A burst of white light enveloped him, and in the blink of an eye, he vanished. Far away, on a secluded island surrounded by a misty lake thousands of kilometers from Heaven Pillar Mountain, a white flash lit up. Han Li appeared at the center of the island, his body slightly unsteady from the teleportation. Without delay, he expanded his blue shield, covering most of his body, ready for an ambush. But no attack came. Instead, a calm, unfamiliar voice spoke nearby. "There's no need for such vigilance. I wouldn't stoop to ambushing a mere early nascent soul cultivator, though I have heard your reputation is quite remarkable." Han Li's heart trembled. That voice didn't belong to the yin-sifting sect master. His eyes darted toward the sound. A black-robed youth stood 100 meters away, hands clasped behind his back. He appeared no older than his 20s, with a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Though Han Li couldn't gauge his cultivation, the aura surrounding him was heavy and oppressive. Han Li frowned. "You're not the yin-sifting sect master?" The youth chuckled lightly. "Do I look like him?" "No," Han Li said coldly. But sneaking into the drifting cloud, sect and injuring someone without being noticed. Aside from your sect master, who else could have managed that? I don't recall seeing you during the Great Battle either." The youth gave a strange smile. "I could offer you an explanation, but that's not why I invited you here. Tell me, did you bring the golden lightning bamboo treasure?" Han Li's eyes narrowed, his silence sharper than words. The youth sighed, sounding almost amused. "Don't waste time. Fellow Taoist Han, I modified the transportation formation to activate only twice. After that, the other end will self-destruct. Your allies won't reach this island for at least half a day. That should be plenty of time for us to settle our business." A cold gleam flickered in Han Li's eyes. "You want to confirm if I carry the golden lightning bamboo treasure? But before that, I think you should hand over the method to break the soul seal curse." The youth raised a black jade slip, his tone calm but his gaze sharp. "The method is in this jade slip, but I'll only give it to you after seeing the golden lightning bamboo treasure." "I'm not my sect master. I don't care about revenge. I only want the treasure." Han Li's expression didn't change. "Fine, To me, no treasure is more important than my Tao companion's life. He pressed his hands together, then slowly spread them apart. A crackle of thunder filled the air as golden lightning danced between his palms, forming into a small azure arrow. The air itself trembled under its energy. The youth's eyes gleamed greedily as he flicked his wrist, sending the jade slip floating toward Han Li at a measured, cautious pace. Han Li understood his intent and tossed the arrow forward at the same speed. The two objects drifted slowly toward each other, their senders locked in mutual focus. When they finally passed side by side, both men exhaled quietly and caught their respective items. The moment Han Li glanced at the jade slip, his expression darkened. Likewise, the youth's face twisted as he crushed the arrow between his fingers. "This is your so-called golden lightning bamboo treasure?" The youth sneered. With a flash of silver-white flame, the arrow turned to ash. Han Li's blue flames ignited in response, consuming the jade slip. "And I've never heard of dissolving a soul seal? Curse using such a basic elemental technique." The slip froze midair and shattered into countless sparkling fragments. The youth's smile vanished. A chilling aura burst from his body, waves of fiendish chi rolling outward. "It seems neither of us came in good faith. Very well, this ends now. Hand over the golden lightning bamboo treasure, and I'll let you live. Otherwise, I'll simply take it from your corpse. Since it's not an ancient treasure, you must have it hidden within your body." Han Li let out a quiet sigh, his tone like ice. "As it happens, my plan is similar. Since you're the one who cast the soul seal curse, the method to undo it must be in your mind. Once I kill you, I'll extract it directly from your soul." The youth's eyes blazed with fury, his voice rising into a deadly laugh. "You dare threaten me? It's been centuries since anyone has had the courage to speak that way to me. For that, I'll honor your bravery by leaving your corpse intact." He raised both hands and spell seals erupted from his fingertips, spreading through the air like falling stars. A thunderous hum followed as 7 towering pillars of blinding white light shot skyward. Within each beam, massive silver-white flood dragons coiled into existence, their roars shaking the heavens. Silvermoon's voice screamed in Han Li's mind, filled with terror. "Master, it's the 7 pillar dragons! You must leave, now!" Although Han Li didn't know how powerful the 7 pillar dragons were, the fear in Silvermoon's voice made his heart tighten. Without hesitation, he waved his sleeve and summoned 36 bamboo clouds-warm swords. They surrounded him like a school of fish swimming through golden light. Knowing his opponent was a formidable devil cultivator, Han Li had no intention of testing him slowly. He intended to strike with full strength and end the battle in a single decisive blow. The 36 streaks of golden light circled above him, and with a few rapid spell seals, the lights trembled and multiplied, forming over 100 identical copies that filled the air. Before Han Li could merge them into the aureate sword formation, the 7 pillars of light surrounding him suddenly erupted. The silver flood dragons within each pillar opened their mouths, condensing bright orbs of silver light that pulsed with destructive energy. Without wasting time, Han Li pointed at the blue shield before him. It instantly expanded into a shimmering barrier of icy blue, encasing him in thick frost. With his other hand, he released the embroidered scarf, which turned into a cloud of white mist that wrapped around the barrier like a second layer of armor. At that very moment, a white silhouette shot from his sleeve and landed lightly on the ground. It was Silvermoon. Without a word, she raised her delicate hand, summoning a streak of violet light, the purple cloud lace. The ribbon transformed into a net of purple flames that spread above them, forming the final layer of protection. Han Li's heart tightened even further. He had already set up 2 layers of defense, yet Silvermoon still wasn't reassured. Just how terrifying were these 7 pillar dragons? As this thought crossed his mind, the 7 dragons roared silently and unleashed beams of solid silver light. The silver beams smashed into the purple net first. The net resisted for a brief instant before 7 holes melted through it. The lights pierced straight into the mist of frost from the embroidered scarf, causing it to churn violently as if on the verge of collapse. Seeing this, Han Li's face turned cold. At this rate, all 3 barriers would shatter within seconds. These beams were far more powerful than he had imagined. But just as panic began to stir in him, Silvermoon's voice turned calm. "So they're fakes. I was worried for nothing." She spoke softly and formed a quick incantation. then spat out a small pearl surrounded by pink mist that carried a faint fragrance. Her sweet voice echoed as she chanted an incantation and pointed at the pearl. A soft bang followed, and the pearl exploded into countless shimmering fragments that merged into the blue ice barrier. Hanley watched in surprise, but didn't interrupt her. Once the fragments fused into the ice, the barrier's surface gleamed like countless mirrors reflecting the sky. At that moment, the 7 beams pierced through the mist of frost and reached the ice barrier. Hanley tensed, continuing his spell seals non-stop. Golden lights flickered above his head as the sword swarm shimmered faintly, preparing to strike. Then the ice barrier blazed with light. The 7 silver beams shuddered and rebounded in the next instant, shooting back toward the 7 pillars even faster than before. The black-robed youth was caught completely off guard. His attention had been on the beautiful woman beside Han Li, and when she uttered the word counterfeit, his face briefly showed shock. Before he could react, the silver dragons within the pillars were swallowed by the reflected beams and vanished in a cascade of explosions. Hanley stared in disbelief. He could hardly imagine that such vicious treasures had been neutralized so easily. Silvermoon smiled faintly, satisfaction glinting in her eyes. She placed her hand on her chest, exhaled softly, and said, "They weren't real, only half-finished imitations. They gave me quite a scare." The black-robed youth's expression darkened at her words. When he heard half-finished, his eyes narrowed sharply. "Half-finished? How do you know how to destroy the 7-pillar dragons?" he demanded. He had always suspected the treasures he'd obtained weren't genuine, but Silvermoon's confidence unsettled him deeply. Still, she didn't answer. Her fingers formed another spell seal, striking the ice barrier. Pink mist flowed from it and reformed into the pearl, which she quickly reabsorbed with a soft breath. Realization flashed in the youth's eyes. His shock turned to greedy delight. "A demon core. So you're a demon fox, but your cultivation? Only 7th grade? Interesting." He licked his lips, grinning. "You know, there are many cultivators in the Jin Empire who pay high prices for a demon fox concubine, especially one who can take human form. It seems this trip won't be wasted after all." Silvermoon's face paled for a moment, but she soon composed herself, covering her mouth with a graceful laugh. "Although this servant appreciates your offer, I already have a master. I'm afraid I can't comply." The youth's eyes glinted with greed. "Your master? He won't live much longer. If you follow me now, I'll spare your life." "Don't be foolish. Serving me will be far better than dying with him in this forsaken land." Hanley's cold voice cut through the air. "Are you delirious? Her master is standing right here and doing quite well. If you plan to win her over, you should first pay attention to your surroundings." The youth glanced at the golden sword lights encircling him and scoffed. "My surroundings? You mean this pile of sword light? So you've refined many flying swords, how pointless. Power doesn't come from quantity but quality. Refining so many is foolish. Those false sword images may look impressive, but they're useless in a real fight. I could stand still and you wouldn't even scratch me." Hanley's expression turned cold, a faint smirk tugging at his lips as killing intent surged in his eyes. "You might be right," he said quietly, "but tell me, are you a late-stage nascent soul cultivator? If not, you'll die here." As he spoke, he completed an incantation and triggered the hidden aureate sword formation. The black-robed youth's expression stiffened. Unease prickled in his heart. He quickly flipped his hand, summoning a massive black hatchet, engraved with ghostly runes and a carved demonic face on the handle. Suddenly, the air shimmered with golden light. Countless thin golden threads flickered around him, appearing and vanishing unpredictably. The youth tried to sense their source with his spiritual sense, but found nothing, no trace of the swords at all. His heart dropped. In panic, he flung the giant hatchet into the air. It grew to 20 meters in size, radiating black light as it swung down fiercely. A flash of gold streaked beneath it, subtle as a breath. The next instant, the massive hatchet split cleanly in two and crashed to the ground.
"What?"
The youth's arrogance vanished. He hurriedly summoned an emerald saber, but it too was shredded mid-air by several golden threads, falling to the ground in pieces. His face twisted in disbelief. "A sword formation?" he gasped. He knew this technique. Normally, it required dozens, hundreds of cultivators to maintain. Yet Han Li alone had deployed one of such terrifying strength. Han Li said nothing. His eyes were sharp as lightning, his hands forming seals in rapid motion. The golden threads around the youth flared brighter and multiplied, weaving a deadly web that drew ever closer. Panic seized the youth. He slapped his storage pouch and threw out 10, white pearls streaked with crimson veins, scattering them in all directions as he spun in desperation. Han Li's heart stirred as he caught sight of the pearls flying toward him. They looked almost identical to his own lightning beads. Without hesitation, he commanded the Aureate sword formation to continue its assault. The sword threads unleashed by the formation were one of its deadliest features, similar to the threads used by sword cultivators. These, however, numbered in the hundreds. Each one a streak of golden light sharp, enough to slice through anything in its path. With the swords infused by auric essence, their power far exceeded that of ordinary sword. Common treasures would shatter the instant they came into contact with such attacks. Han Li wasn't concerned about the incoming pearls. As long as his true 36 swords remained unharmed, the formation could instantly repair itself, even if the sword threads scattered. No ordinary attack could disrupt the Aureate sword formation. But when the pearls collided with the formation, they didn't explode as expected. Instead, they split apart, releasing a dense black-red mist of blood that spread rapidly through the air. A sickly sweet pungent stench filled the battlefield. Han Li's eyes narrowed. These weren't lightning beads, they were blood mines, items said to be refined from the most putrid and sinister materials in existence. Unless one possessed specialized Devil Dao treasures, any magic treasure that entered, the mist would have its spiritual power severely weakened. Even powerful artifacts would require days of purification with nascent flames to recover. Blood mines were extremely rare and notoriously difficult to refine. The materials alone were almost impossible to find. And even then, few ever succeeded. The black-robed youth had clearly spent centuries collecting and refining these dozen or so beads. As an elder of one of the 10 great devil sects of the Jin Empire, the man was both cunning and experienced. The moment he saw Han Li's sword formation, he knew its weakness. If he could disrupt even a few of the 36 swords, the entire formation would collapse. That was why blood mines were the devil cultivators, favored weapon against sword arrays, though their rarity made them too valuable to waste on minor battles. Han Li didn't yet understand what the blood mist was, but he sensed danger within it. Just as he began to ponder, faint rolls of thunder rumbled from inside the mist. Golden lightning flashed through the blood-red fog, followed by arcs of golden energy that struck with explosive force. The divine Devilbane lightning within his swords had awakened on its own. With each burst, the golden lightning tore through the blood mist, scattering it into nothingness. In the blink of an eye, both forces annihilated each other. Han Li's eyes widened. This was the first time he had ever seen the divine Devilbane lightning act of its own accord. The wicked nature of the blood mist must have provoked it, an unexpected but fortunate reaction. Unbeknownst to him, the blood mines were specifically designed to weaken righteous Dao treasures. Unfortunately for the black-robed cultivator, Han Li's divine Devilbane lightning specialized in destroying Devil Dao techniques. The two forces completely countered each other, and the golden lightning's quantity was far greater. Within seconds, the mist was gone. The black-robed man's expression turned pale. His voice trembled as he shouted, "Divine Devilbane lightning! Those flying swords crafted from golden lightning bamboo? Impossible! How could you possess so much of it?" Han Li's voice was cold and calm. "You'll get your answer after I send you to the underworld." He gave a mental command, and the Aureate sword formation resumed its movement. Golden threads sliced through the air, closing in silently on the black-robed youth. Although the formation was immensely powerful, Han Li felt the toll on his magic power. His cultivation wasn't yet high enough to sustain it for long, and he couldn't speed it up any further. If he could, the sword threads would have ended the fight in an instant, giving the enemy no chance to retaliate. He estimated that only when he reached mid-nascent soul would he be able to fully unleash the formation's potential. The black-robed youth sneered as black chi coiled around him. "Do you truly believe such a sword formation can trap me? You underestimate the might of my sect's protective treasure." He suddenly struck his chest, coughing out a mouthful of black blood. From the blood emerged a small green banner, glowing with eerie light. The banner absorbed the black blood and turned dark green before shooting into his hand as a streak of light. It expanded rapidly until it was over a meter tall, surrounded by thick yin clouds. One of its corners was missing, as if damaged in a past battle. Hanley's eyes narrowed. The ghost-sifting banner. He remembered hearing about it. The sect-protecting treasure of the yin-sifting sect. One of the 20 banners said to control legions of vengeful souls. The youth smiled coldly. You recognize it? Clever. This is one of the main ghost-sifting banners. Allow me to show you its power. With a sharp wave of his hand, the banner unleashed a dark green cloud that surged outward, engulfing him completely. The sky darkened as yin energy flooded the area. The sun vanished behind a curtain of ghostly fog filled with mournful wails and distant screams. In an instant, the battlefield was transformed into a realm of darkness. Even Han Li, confident in his sword formation, felt a chill run down his spine. From within the fog, several black threads shot toward him, slicing through the air. Han Li reacted instantly. The aureate sword formation blazed with golden light, shredding the threads apart. But instead of dissipating, they turned into green mist and flowed back to their master. The black-robed youth's voice rang out in surprise. The yin ghost threads, known for their resilience, had been destroyed in one blow. Realizing he had underestimated Han Li, the youth gritted his teeth and began chanting faster, deciding to unleash the full power of the ghost-sifting banner. He hurled the banner into the ground before him, and it expanded rapidly, growing to 6 meters tall. The fog swirled violently around it, and as it cleared, Han Li's eyes went cold. The surface of the banner was covered with countless faces, men, women, and children, all twisted in eternal agony, writhing as if alive. Han Li's voice turned icy. How many souls did you use to forge that banner? How many lives have you taken? The youth's laughter echoed through the mist. How many? I lost count long ago, 100,000 perhaps. Several hundred cultivators among them, refining even one main banner demands. Many souls. Hanley's gaze hardened. Then you and your sect are beyond redemption. The youth sneered. Many have said that before. Every one of them became a part of this banner. You'll join them soon enough. He formed a red spell seal and struck the banner. Green light flared as a black hole opened at its center, releasing waves of yin wind and piercing howls. From within, massive skulls flew out, their eyes burning with ghostly green flames. The largest skull bore the horns of a bull, but its features were disturbingly human. Hanley's expression tightened. These skulls, could they be from Metamorphosis stage demon beasts? He pushed the thought aside and steadied his focus. More and more ghostly skulls emerged, surrounding the black-robed youth until there were over 100, each trailing green smoke and burning with eerie fire. The youth pointed toward Han Li and shouted, "Go!"